Hey guys, today's Sunday, September the 10th of 2023, and I want to go over the dollar, energy, and metals. So without any further delay, let's get into it. As you can see, we're starting off with our uranium futures. As you know, I've been following uranium sector for a while, and the last video I post that every month. So every month you get a big picture on the uranium spot price, not the uranium futures. The uranium futures gives you a little more detail in regards to price action. But I follow both religiously because I believe that price action is king. And if prices are going up, that means that the uranium equities, in theory, should be going higher. As a disclaimer, I own DNN. I own Uranium Royalty, UROY. I also own UEC. And I used to own Cameco. I don't anymore. I'm just watching it. But Cameco is the leader of the pack, in my opinion. And then there's also ETFs that you could get into, but I own actually, the stocks on the ones I mentioned. So with that being said, you can see the uranium futures have been chucking along, and we're already at 61.50. It looks like it wants to test this high right here of 63.80. Once we penetrate and close above that, you start entering into what I call the camp zone, the bear zone, which is the supply zone. And that covers anywhere between 64.95 all the way to $73 and change. There's a center of gravity point, which is 71 that I have an eye on. I don't have it marked here, but I know it by heart. And also my target would be 77, which is center of gravity. So there's two, 77 and 71 are the center of gravity targets. I don't have them here. This is the bigger target I have. And I've had this for a long time. And that's where I'm expecting uranium spot and future to get there. Once it gets there, I don't know what's going to happen. But if it gets there, that is a big accomplishment because we have entered into the center of gravity point of uranium spot or uranium futures. What that means is that we're at the midpoint. If the midpoint we stall, then we stall, but at least we made it halfway to the highs. So if you could get here and hold and then push higher, that's even more bullish. We already know in regards to geometry in the uranium spot price that we are above the 45 from our low in 2016. So that's good. So everything as of right now is showing positive price action. The only thing I'm concerned about is the 7-year cycle that's coming up from that 2016 low. And that's going to be coming this year between November and December. So what are my thoughts on that? Is that price action, right now is chucking along higher nicely. But if we start chucking along higher nicely and we get, hypothetically to $77 and it's November and December, that's going to be interesting because you just hit a 7-year cycle and you also hit the midpoint. But I'm just speculating if it's going to get that high. We just got to see once we get to November and December where uranium spot and uranium futures will be once we get to that bridge. But so far, it's going higher and it's looking good. Once it gets to the supply zone, which is the bear camp, let's see what price action is going to do. If it's going to stall, is it going to consolidate and just go sideways? Is it going to go, and hit, my target and then just kind of stall and just kind of just stay steady there? We don't know. There's a lot of things going on. And then also on top of November, December, the 7-year cycle, what's going to happen there? We don't know. It's just a Gann theory that I use. And, Gann was an awesome trader. And that's what he said in his textbooks. And, I'm a Gann student, so I'm aware of all these things, so I want you to be aware of them too. It's a crystal ball, but a crystal ball to what? To, maybe nothing happens, maybe something happens. And, we'll, cross that bridge once we get there and see what happens. But those are my thoughts on the uranium futures. So far, it's looking good. And your target would be 63.80 as of now. Once we get there, let's see what's going to happen if we could close above that. Let's go now and check out crude and see what crude is cooking for us. Okay, so we're going to start off with crude. As you can see, We got a PPS buy signal that kicked in on August 29th. And so far, this one's been working really good. Price action has been moving to the upside. It was stalling around the 84, which is at 37.5% ratio. And now it looks like it wants to head to the 33.3% Gann ratio, 89.17. You can see it right here in the yellow. If we could push and close higher than that, then 93.77 pivot high. And then your next target would be 25% level, which is 99.50. But look at the squeeze play. It triggered here and it was to the downside, kind of got chopped around to the downside there. Didn't really go down. Then it started going down. And then it's just kind of been, holding here. And now got a buy signal or a squeeze to the upside on July the 31st. And so far, this one has been playing out. Although you can see the PPS signals have been choppy. So it's one of those things. Sometimes you get a lot of false signals, but then once you get that real one that sticks, this is it. And this one has been sticking now. And it looks like the path of least resistance is to the upside on crude. RBOB, however, is a little different. You got a PPS sell signal on August the 14th, and it's just been kind of chopping here. Having a tough time, gaining traction to the upside, and so far right now it's starting to. So let's see, it's in a range between 250 and 298. So I wonder if it's just going to go to the midpoint and maybe stall, go, or continue going higher. So we'll see how that's going to play out. But so far, this is the weakest RBOB. Natural gas, as you can see, we just been in, just chop fest here. Back and forth, 301 and holding 242 on the weekly. And now we're in the mobile bands. We need to at least get above 270 to have conviction to test at least 301. We made a high here, so we got to pivot to 286 and you can say 250, 242 for support. And it's just been going sideways. So let's see, maybe this week we'll get some momentum to the upside. A turning point, and maybe test this at 286. That's probably your first target. Maybe 278 to 286 and 287, and then obviously the 301 high. Heating oil, pretty good. I thought it stalled here. Got a PPS sell signal on the daily, and then you see that it closed higher, made a high on Friday at 332. So the daily, if you know from the PPS signal, it fluctuates back and forth. So maybe this is good for more scalping, for a technique like that, or a strategy. But the real important one will be on the weekly. We haven't had a weekly sell signal of any kind. The trend is still up. If you look at it really closely on heating oil, you got the PPS buy signal on June 12th. And if you're holding since then you're doing good. There's no sell signals yet. It kind of stalled here in the trend line, but it's looking good. So targets to the upside could be anywhere between 348 all the way to 403. We probably need to add more stuff and look at the cycle of seasonality and see what's really cooking under the hood. But so far, from here to here, it's turning. So I don't know if this is an A, B, C, or this is, where it's starting now to turn higher. But so far, if we can stay above that trend line, is looking good for heating oil. Let's go to the metals real quick. As you can see, we just chop fast PPS sell signal on September 5th, which could be choppy. But the weekly has been choppy too. We had them here May 15. We got a buy on July 24th. Dead cat bounce. Looks like we had a sell here on the August 14, retraced back up, and now it's back in the noise barrier. So we're in between that range between 1900 and 2022. Just kind of going sideways, but we're going to be looking at the dollar and see if there could be more pressure to the downside. Silver back in this, triangular pattern with these trend lines. And really hasn't broken down, but it really hasn't gone higher. And it's between the 25.47 and the 22.14. And looking at the mobiles, it's a little weaker now, but you got this trend line coming up here, which is right here, PPSL signal on the September 1st. So this is kind of like a market, trend traders are getting chopped here. But, algos and, scalpers and swing traders are probably the one that's making the money here. If you follow your strategy or your plan, going back and forth when it starts turning, close and go short, but this is the pattern that's going, just oscillating back and forth until it decides to just trend. And so far, it hasn't done that yet. Copper, interesting. I got short here, got stopped out, I guess, here, one of these 2 weekly candles. And it went up, but didn't really take out the trend line, didn't really take out this high of 396, and now it's back down below the trend line. So you know what? I'm not going to trade it. I'm just going to wait for it to like really flush its move and see what's going to happen. Some of the cycles I've noticed are, to the upside, but price action has just been, in chop fest, in a squeeze play. So I'm just going to wait to see if this 362 holds or this 354 holds and see what happens next. If it holds, maybe I could go long. But if it doesn't hold, there could probably be more down pressure. But it's just chop fest. Palladium making a new low. So this is, the path of least resistance is to the downside. So that's where, the bears are making the money. Let's look at platinum real quick. And yeah, very ugly. Wow. Look at that. Failed the trend line here, attempted it, came down, wanted to do it again, failed, trapped more bulls. And let's see if this is going to hold for next week. 8.94. If that doesn't hold, it could test 796. I mean, look at that. Went up, went down. According to Gann's theory, one of the ways to get in is to wait for this move to develop. Once it retraces, you will get in somewhere around here, and maybe I could do a wave 3, but it's kind of early in the game to see. Got to look at seasonalities, cycles, and every other thing, because that might not work out. You try to go in here, and what it's probably doing is going up and then testing this low so it could stop you out. I mean, it's a strategy, but it could not work out. It could test this, and if this holds, then that's when, if you see any signal to the upside, that's when you probably want to go long, because then you got to fail new low. So Gann's technique was wait for this move to develop. When it pulls back, then this is where you get in. This is lower risk. But it could go where it wants to just test this to see if this is a valid low. So those are the two things. So you could probably trade it twice to see if it holds. And if you get stopped out, then it goes down here. And if this holds, you go long. So this is more for the long bullish view. Bearish, if this doesn't hold and you're short, then it's going to push, lower. Just going to give you tips there. Let's look at the dollar real quick. The dollar chucking along since July 18th, and it's strong. It got a little weak here. The bears got aggressive, but then the bulls defended this 50% level, the point of control, center of gravity. PPS buy signal. We hit a Tom D mark 13th candle right here, and it's just ignoring it. And it looks like it wants to test this 105.83 with one of Gann's, midpoint 50% level right here. So this area right here is going to be interesting if we could chuck along, meaning that we're probably going to get some pressure on the metals until we get there. Once the dollar hits this area, and it could either stall, then go down, to maybe push even lower, or stall, trick people, accumulate, consolidate, bounce, head fake, hold it, and then rip again. And if that happens, let's go over here. It may want to go straight to 114 and test it. I know there's a lot of people talking, yeah, the dollar this and the dollar that, but the dollar has been holding and regain all this to here until we get here and see if this is going to hold. The dollar gets above here and finds support and bounces and takes out whatever the last high it did. I have a strong conviction it wants to go test that high again to see if it could go higher. So all this was just a correction. They may want to test that high. So watch out for the metals, and the other currencies, the pairs on that. Let's look at natural gas real quick. I'm going to end it there. I'm going to make this video. It's probably long already, but, I haven't done the video all week, so I really don't care. VWAP. Anchored VWAPs have been holding. This is an area of support for natural gas. Point of control on the daily is 258. So we're above that, so that's good. Targets to the upside will be that 286. That's going to be your last high, the test. And if we could get above there, very simple, we're going to test the 301. We're going to enter the bear camp again and see. But if we can take that high, and for some odd reason, we go below these lows, then it's not looking good. In simple, easy terms to understand, price action. Just cleared it out for you right there. What concerns me, weekly MACD is still negative. I don't have anything positive there. Last week's volume was negative, but not as, not high volume. It's below the average. We've been holding that point of control of 262 on the weekly. And it's just been oscillating back and forth. On the daily, we're below the 20, the 50 SMA. We're holding the 100 right here, which is this dotted SMA right here. And we're in the cloud, but the cloud is holding us support. So that 250 area, it bounced right off that cloud. That's why I like the cloud, because it's showing me some hidden, levels that I probably won't be aware of. But once I see the cloud, I can see them clearly. But the future's not looking good. It's getting a little dark, but that always fluctuates. We don't have a positive MACD yet. So we got this nice little sell-off. So I want to see if for this week we start going up and get out of the cloud again and close above the 20 and the 50. You can see that right here. This is a strong level, 272. So the cloud is already, plotting it out for you in the future. So that's a level you want to keep an eye on. But we want to get out of here and test this 272 and test the value area high, which is 280, and see if we could kind of push higher from there. It's a linear regression channel up here, which would be concerning, like it did here. We get up there for your scalpers. Maybe this is the area you want to lock in profits, because then maybe it could turn. And then you got to wait for something else to start, retracing it and pushing higher. And if they push it lower, this is the area you probably want to accumulate. So this is where you sell, this is where you buy, and it goes back and forth until it pushes even with more strength. But so far, you can see that Friday, it was kind of mixed. Maybe a little edge to the bulls. Thursday, the bulls had it, but Wednesday, the bears got us. And Tuesday, the bears really got us. And then Monday, the bears got us. So the bears got us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got them Thursday. And it was kind of mixed, but leaning more, more with the bulls on Friday. In regards to volume. In regards to the midpoint chart, what do we have here? Well, this is the midpoint. 260. This is bulls. This is bears. If we can stay above 260, targets to the upside would be 270, 276, and 281. The gods are good, maybe 286 to 294. If we are below 260 this whole week, Targets to the downside would be 254, 250, 249, and 239. I'm not going to bother with the daily. That fluctuates a lot, but, you know, it's kind of roughly close to one of these. On the bigger picture, 272. If we could get above 272, we have a fighting chance to test this 286. But if we can get above 272, and just which is somewhere around here, 271, 272, if we can get above this area, it's going to be hard to get to 276 or 281 for this week. Looking at our trend lines, you can see that we, and I can't remember if this is log. When I say scale, I'm talking about log. Just for those that were curious, because maybe I confused a few people compared to my geometry chart, which the chart itself is scale at a 45 degree. This is not 45 degree. This is log scale. Well, let's find out. Let's see. Time axis. No, it's price. No, this was not log scale. The one, so this one is not using log scale. The one I use log scale is this one. So when I put my trend line on this one, you see we're kind of battling out. We're above the green one, and above this red line right here. But when you go to the this one, which is not logged, we are above the green one from these two pivots, which is the same ones I've been using. So you can see within the log and unlogged scale chart the difference between the price action. So you can see that this one is kind of working more, the one that's not, you know, with the log off scale. You can see that we hit this trend line, and this was a pivot from here to here, and we failed right there. And this is key pivot here, trend line. And we're above this red line. So this is where you see these coming over here. So, and then over here, this is a planetary line I added to my chart. I rarely talk about it, but I have it there just to see, you know, at another dimension, what other support and resistance that I know some other traders are not too familiar with. And you can see that this one has been holding. I can't remember which planet this is, but you can see that it's so far working. It pierced it here, but so far it held it here on top of the trend line. So this is like some hidden support. If you follow Gann theory, kind of tells you all this kind of stuff that he was into and he looked at. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, I like to see things. I like to see a lot of things and then make up my mind on what I want to do. But so far, those are the levels. Let's see if this is a turning point to the upside to test these higher levels, and see how this week turns out. I'm looking for higher price action, but we need to stay above 260. That is your line in the sand. If we can stay above that, you know, if it was me, I'll be buying dips and going long. If we go below 260, I wouldn't be going long, or I'll be shorting, you know, pops until I see a turning point. But so far, this is your line in the sand for this week. I'm going to sign out. Hopefully you like this video, and I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on the dollar, energy, and the metal sector.